Which reading books or chapter books do you recommend for first grade? And can you do a video? Well, yes, I can. And this is the video. Today, I'm sharing with you how I use readers in our homeschool. That's the first step. I will share with you our favorite readers so far, my favorite readers, and also my kids' favorite readers. So I have a few recommendations for you there. I will also tell you how to find readers so that you can find readers that maybe interest your kids more, or just more readers to fill out the school year. And also how I create a book list, how I organize the readers so that they are not logical order, and so I can keep track of what my kids are reading during the school year. If we have not met, my name is Leslie. I do videos about homeschooling. Here are all the ways that you can find me, so reach out. I would love to get to know you. On to our topic. First off, how do I use readers? All right, here's a graphic that shows you in general how I approach teaching reading to my kids. So far I've taught 3 kids how to read. And the first thing I do, of course, is letter sounds. We move on then, once they know their letter sounds, to a phonics curriculum. We use Hooked on Phonics for that. And I have a detailed review about Hooked on Phonics here on my YouTube channel if you're interested. I move on after we finish Hooked on Phonics. That goes through 2nd grade. So after they're done with that, we go into fluency and confidence. I focus on them being fluent readers, practicing a lot, and getting their confidence up so that they can then read independently. And when I say read independently, I mean so that they can read their assigned reading independently, assigned reading for homeschool. They read their fun stuff independently all the time. But for their homeschool reading, I want them to read independently and then focus on reading comprehension. And that's where we move into like some worksheets and lap books and things to go along with their reading assignments. You can see here around the grade level that my kids go through each of these stages. You know, it just depends on the kid. Letter sounds, obviously that's going to be pre-K, and this isn't a difficult thing. I used a Leapfrog Letter Factory video for this. Sometimes they watch it every day, or when they were in pre-K, they would watch it pretty much every day, or at least parts of it. And that way they learned their letter sounds without a whole lot of interaction from me, and it was fun for them. And then around kindergarten, we start with a phonics curriculum. I had one student who started in kindergarten. I have another student who started his phonics curriculum when he was 4, so pre-K, and another student who started when he was like 2 or 3, because he'd been sitting in on a brother's reading lessons and felt very confident and started sounding things out and really wanted to read. So it just depends on the kid. Since we use Hooked on Phonics and it goes through 2nd grade, around 2nd grade we focus on the fluency and confidence, because all of my kids, even my student who didn't start a reading curriculum until kindergarten, they all finished the Hooked on Phonics program before 2nd grade was over. And like my 1st grader now, he finished it a while ago. So at this point, we just focus a lot on reading a lot of books. And then around 3rd, 4th grade, once they're confident enough to read independently, we focus on reading comprehension for like the longer, more difficult books. So how do readers come into this? I always have a list of books. When they start their phonics curriculum in kindergarten or whenever, I always have a list of books for them to read and to work through. And these are books that I select. They can read whatever they want for fun, of course, but I create a book list of books that I've selected that I want them to read. We treat these at first as shared reading, which means that I sit with them, and at first I may have to read a lot of the words, and then I follow along with my finger, and they follow along as well. And when I get to a word that I know they know or that I think they can sound out, then I have them read that word. And as time goes on, they have picked up more and more words. And as we go through our phonics curriculum, they've learned to decode more and more words. And so they're doing more and more of the reading. And so we move into guided reading, where they're reading most of the words, and I just supply the words that they don't know. And by doing it like this, my kids picked up their sight words very quickly. Even my student, I have a student who we didn't start doing this until the end of first grade. And during the next year, he picked up all the sight words that he needed to know, like all of them. And we'd really been struggling with sight words. So we go from shared reading to guided reading, and then around third, fourth grade, independent reading. So the book list that I create, I have this in mind when I'm choosing these books. So what are some of our favorite books? Well, I like to start off with the Bob books. All of my kids have liked Bob books for some reason. I don't get it, but they have loved them. I even have a detailed review about Bob books here on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Since the question that inspired this video was specifically talking about first grade books, I have here this Sight Words for First Grade set. They have other first grade box sets, and these are each box sets. They have little books in them. So the very first Bob book sets are super easy, very easy for even your new reader to decode, and they love that. And then it gets more, you can increase the difficulty in the Bob books as well. And so we spent a while going through those. Another favorite is my youngest especially love these biscuit books. So this is a series, so you won't run out of books for a while. These are very much, I think, shared reading. It says that these are like some first readers, but I found that there were some pretty difficult words in some of them that I just had to supply to my students. But they love them because these are all stories about a little puppy. And so the kids just really enjoyed reading through those and even reading them for fun. And that was something that they look forward to during our shared or guided reading. Some of my favorites were the Little Bear series. All of my kids like these. These are more difficult books because they do have like more words on a page, and we didn't always finish a story in one day. So it took us a while to get through a lot of these. And my kids really enjoy them. They're about, I have 3 little boys, and the Little Bear books are about a little boy bear. And so you have a lot of bear antics going on. And so they thought that they were really cute and enjoyed them. And I liked them because they were like real reading. They could decode a lot of it, but a little more challenging. Another one of my favorites are the Frog and Toad books. I love these because these are books basically about friendship, and I love the friendship between Frog and Toad, and they have some silly stories. One of them especially isn't like the brightest animal around, so my kids really like that aspect of it. Now, once you've gone through those, you may want to find some of your own readers, some more books to fill out your book list. And so some ideas for places I find books or book ideas for my book list are Amazon. That's one of the first places I go. Let's go to the Amazon website so that I can show you how I use Amazon to find book ideas. If you go to the Amazon website and type in the name of a book that your students liked and go to that page, you will see recommendations for other books. So here we have The Frog and Toad Are Friends. And if you go down, you see, oh, there's other books in this series. Let me purchase those. And that's what they want. You know, they want to make it easy for you to find books that you'll actually want to buy. If you go further down, we see recommended items with children's books. So you see more books for this age level and reading level. So you can flip through some of those and see if any of those pique your interest. If you go further down, it shows you books you may like. Now this, I think, is dependent on your search history and your purchase history. And since I buy books for older kids, have older children, then that's why I'm seeing these more difficult books in here. But if you're buying a lot of books for a first grader, you'll likely see recommendations here for a first grader. My kids love these I Survived books. They really like those. And so this is a great place for ideas. The Who Was books are fun. So this gives you some good ideas. And then you keep going down, go to products related to this item, you'll see some other books. So see here a bunch of science fiction, not science fiction, but sciencey type books or history books. My kids love these kind of National Geographic ones. This is one on robots I'm going to have to get because my kids love that. And so you see here some other ideas. So this is a good place to go to get ideas for other books for your book list. Another place you can go to get ideas for books for your reading list are Sunlight or Bookshark. This, I believe, is the same curriculum company, just two different sides of it. Sunlight is the Christian side and Bookshark is the secular side. They are a curriculum company that teaches history through literature, and so I like going to them for ideas for books. Let's go look at their Sunlight website so I can show you how I do that. Okay, here I am on sunlight.com, and there's a few different ways you can get to the readers. You can go to grade level or subject. I'm just going to go to shop by grade and first grade, since that's what we're talking about. And then we have here start with history. So that's where you're going to want to go. Start with history. And then they have a couple of different options for this age range. Teaching history. I'm going to choose this one, Intro to World Cultures. Learn more. And then if I go to what's included, you see this set of books, because that's how they teach history. You scroll down. Here's some ideas for books related to history. Here's some read aloud ideas. So that's a good place to go to for that. And then you get down to the readers. So I like to come here to see books that are like on grade level. And like here you see the Little Bear books, and you see like a Dr. Seuss books, a couple of Dr. Seuss books, and a couple of other ones that we haven't read. Oh, Bravest Dog Ever, we have that one. My kids really enjoy that. So this is a good place to go to. They also have recommendations for summer reading, like more fun reading, and I always look for those as well. Let me see if I can find that here. Go to the search bar, summer reading, and you can go by grade level. So let's say like elementary school boys, and so here some fun recommendations. So this is a good place to go to for ideas for books for your kids. The last recommendation I have for how to find readers is Pinterest. And I actually have an entire board that I've created just for book lists. It's a great place to go to get ideas. Let's go look at that. So if you go to my page on Pinterest, I'm lesliemaddox.com. That's spelled out. That's my account name in Pinterest, and go to my page and see what boards I've created. You see here homeschool book lists. So click on that and you get lots of ideas. I've pinned a lot of pins for that have book lists. Here's some detective books, books about stars, third grade books, historical fiction. So you can keep going, some chapter books, novels for grade 2. Lots of good ideas. Chapter books for families, so maybe those are some read alouds. Here's a pin for easy books for beginning readers. So check out this board. I've got tons of ideas in here for book lists, and these should be able to help you out in order to flesh out your book list. Oh, this is a good one. 10 adventure early chapter books, ages 5 through 8. So you might want to check that out. All right, so now let's go and talk about how I create that book list. Now that you have a lot of ideas for books to put on your book list, let's talk about how to create that book list. I like to create my book list in a spreadsheet. So let me show you an example of a spreadsheet to give you an idea of how I do this. I create a spreadsheet every year and with a tab for each of my boys. Now, if you're confused, I'm on a Mac. So this is a spreadsheet that I created in Numbers. You can do the same thing in Excel if you're a Windows person. So I create a spreadsheet where I have one for each of my kids, a worksheet or a tab for each of my kids. And I put all those book ideas, like ideas for what I want them to read for the year, here in this spreadsheet. I have columns here for the book title, the author, and then the reading levels in a few different ways here. And then a note section, so if it's like part of a series, or if I want to say that I like got it from the library or something, I can put, or to get it from the library I can put those notes in here. I also have a column for the date that my student completed that book. And I put in my planners, like every Friday I have in my planner, my homeschool planner, to update the book list. So I look through here to see what books have my students completed that week, and I enter the dates in there, and then I know to go find the next book for them to read or whatever they'll need for the next week. So that's how I have that set up. I like this because I can sort the books in a few different ways. I can sort them right now they're sorted by author, so that's helpful if your student really enjoyed one author and you want to see what other books you may have at home already, or that you've already done the research on for them to read. You can sort them by book title, which is helpful. But what I usually do is I sort them by one of these reading levels. So let's say I sort them by guided reading level. So you see here in the guided reading level column, they're sorted in increasing difficulty. And so I start off doing this. I choose like one of these columns to sort them by. And then I move things around. So for example, you see here a bunch of biscuit books. So maybe we read a few biscuit books, but we're getting a little bit tired of that, so we want to read something else. And so I'll just move these rows around to where I want them to be. Maybe we're going to read Firecat. Maybe my students saw that or got it from the library. And so we're like, okay, well, we'll read that next. I'll just move that to where I want it and enter in the date completed. And so that's what I do. I sort by reading level, one of these, and then I move them around so that I've done my thinking ahead of time. And then when I'm in like living life and all the busyness that comes with homeschooling, when it's time to grab that next book off the shelf for my student, I don't have to think too hard about it. I can just look in our spreadsheet and see what's next. You may be wondering, well, Leslie, how do you get those reading levels? Well, here's how I get them. I go to a couple of different places to get reading levels for my students, and then I also use this guided reading level resource chart to give me an idea of kind of where they should be. So let's look at each of those. First, let's go to the Scholastic Book Wizard. If you go to the Scholastic website, go to their book wizard, you can enter in the name of a book. So let's say I put in a biscuit book. And you can see here, these are the books that I guess they sell, biscuit books that they sell. And you can see the reading levels here. So I choose a few of these to track so that I have some options, and I just enter them into my spreadsheet. This could be another way to find some interesting books that your kids might like. So if they like Biscuit Goes to School, they might like, these other books. So that's a really helpful resource. Besides the Scholastic Book Wizard, I also go to the Lexile website. You can get an account here, go to their tools and their Find a Book tool, and just enter in your book name here. So let's say Biscuit. So you see here several of the Biscuit books. So if you click on Biscuit, you see the reading level here, which I enter in to my spreadsheet. And then this is nice as well because there's some other helpful parts of this page. You can see here a vocabulary section. And this is nice for if you have an older student, especially. Let's say you have a 3rd or 4th grader, you're working on vocabulary with them. You can put your book title in here and see what are some words in this book that they might not know, and work on vocabulary with them in that regard. And you can also look at these indicators and see here's different aspects that could affect difficulty of the book. So, how easy is it to decode? And if you click on these, it gives you a little more information. What kind of vocabulary? Is this more difficult vocabulary, more challenging? Do these have shorter or longer sentences, this book? And the patterns. Are there a lot of repeated words and phrases? So this is really nice to help you figure out if a particular book is appropriate for your student. The Scholastic website also provides this guided reading level resource chart, which is really helpful because it shows you how different types of reading levels, like you have here the Scholastic guided reading level and DRA, Lexile, how these different types of reading levels correspond to grades. And of course, this is just a guideline. You might have a student who's above grade level in reading or below, and that's fine. Our goal is just to make progress. But it is helpful when you're looking for books to see if a book is leveled for 1st grade. So A through I in the Scholastic Guided Reading Level measure, or like 190 through 530 for Lexile, then you know that the interest level will probably be for a 1st grader. So this is a really helpful little tool to have. So that's how I create a book list for my students. You may also be interested in some reading log coloring pages I've created. I'll put the link for those below, as well as some of these other resources that I've talked about today. And happy reading.